Hi, I'm Matt Harmon, Technical Director of the BWT Alpine F1 team, and I'm here today to talk about a few of your questions. I'm excited to read through and try and give you the best answers I can. Hi Matt, thanks for stopping by, very nice. I see a lot of people, some with champagne glasses in your AMA verification picture. Is that a belated party to celebrate Pierre Zandvoort podium, or are you perhaps celebrating the arrival of someone else, i.e. a new team principal? No, it was definitely our celebration for our Zandvoort P3. It was fantastic to see everybody in the team there. You know, we had the whole team there. So yeah, it was a really nice moment for the team, and it's something we try to do, and everybody enjoys a glass of fizz, which is very nice. Next question is, what metrics do you look at to determine your guys are down by 30 horsepower? Who seems to have the most power based on this same metric? We essentially use some analysis that looks at the acceleration of the car and corrects it for certain aspects along the lines of the weight of the car and some other things. And that allows us to really quite accurately understand where the power deltas are to our competition. In terms of who's best, it's it's quite a close field at the top, and as is reasonably well publicised, we are slightly behind on the power side. But it's something that we're working on quite carefully and quite cleverly to try and bridge that gap, and also using techniques on the chassis to try and help with that as well. So it's a real team effort, and we'll continue to do that. Hi Matt, this is super exciting. What's one part that a layperson wouldn't even think of that as a major impact on the performance of the car? I saw one team showing something that went into a single bolt, and my mind was absolutely blown. One thing in particular that's quite interesting that I thought of was maybe which maybe links a little bit to the question previously, was on the exhaust system and generally the tailpipe of the car. It's really important that we optimise not just the fundamental power from the engine, but also the way it interacts with the aerodynamics of the car, and the exhaust primaries, so the bits that connect directly to the power unit, but also the tailpipe which connects to the turbine of the power unit. It's really important that we deal with those quite carefully in terms of the pressure loss that we see through those, the thermodynamic insulation of them, because you need to make sure that in essence you don't burn the car down, which would be a bad thing, but also that you maintain the energy in the exhaust, and you want to make sure that you transmit that energy from one side to the other, but also maintaining the reliability of the exhaust, because actually by regulation we only have so many sets per year that we can use before we take a penalty. So we have to be very careful about how we engineer that. Next question, what racetrack has the best hospitality for the team staff in your opinion? Abu Dhabi is always great, because not only do we get great hospitality at the circuit, but often it's the end of a long year, it's the end of quite a number of races, and it's great to see other members of the team coming out, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, everybody comes out and stays in the hotel where we get great hospitality, and for me, it's great to see everybody. We always have a bit of a party there at the end of the season to say thank you to the families, and for me, that coupled with the hospitality you get that event, for me is a great time, and I thoroughly enjoyed the one we had last year for lots of reasons. Hello Matt, amazing to see you doing an AMA here, which is really nice. I really want to ask about the current car, the A523. One of the prime goals of the A523 was to have a wide optimal working window with it. However, more recently we did hear sounds that the A523 has a very small operating window. How is it there is a huge difference between what was predicted, expected based on data, and what do we read into this now, months later? Okay, so yeah, it's always our target really to try and widen the operating window, because that gives us more opportunities in setup of the car and gives us a car that is more broader in terms of all the different types of races, whether it be low downforce, high downforce, all the different types. What has happened on the A523 is we started off with a reasonable window, but that has actually narrowed over time. So now we're actually looking at trying to widen that window again and make sure that we can run the car optimally everywhere, but also achieve good ride and good characteristics in terms of the car's handling. Next one, what is the reason of your struggle in Monza after the PU, other than the PU deficit? The performance that we did have was below our expectations. So at the moment, as it stands right now, there's a huge body of work in the team to understand that. When we have performances like that, it inspires us to learn. So we're looking at that at the moment, we do have a PU deficit. We spoke about that earlier, but it's not everything. And there are lots of handles and levers that we can use with the car to try and offset and have a better performance. And to be quite honest, I don't think we've done quite a good enough job of that at this Monza race, and we're going to learn from that. We're going to highlight the areas of change. We're going to check that we've got those covered on the A524, but also we're going to try some things towards the end of the year at tracks that are not the same as Monza, but maybe similar. Hi Matt, thanks for doing this. In this current era of Formula One, what are the biggest challenges you face when it comes to bringing upgrades to the cars throughout the season? It's really, really important to us that we select optimally what upgrades we put on the car, but also that when they're delivered, they deliver. We've always got a number of car programs around us at all times. We always have what we call the N car, which is the car we're currently running, so the A523. We have the N+1 car, which is next year's car, the A524, and then we'll also have a future car, which we're already starting to look through simulations and concept for the A526 or the 2026 regulation car, because of course we've already started some PU work there as we look to improve the PU for 2026 under those regulations. So it challenges our engineers to make sure that we are always working on the right thing at the right time. We're always working very well in the conceptual stages to make sure that we make the best decisions, that we don't have to make the decisions twice. So it is a huge effort, and that gives everybody here a big challenge most of the time. And as I sit here right now, there's an office full of people behind me that are currently looking at the next set of upgrades, which are, well, I'll let you know when they're coming later. What is it really like getting that first call from an F1 team, realising you have made it to that tight-knit circus? Also related, what's the process of switching between teams like? Is it tough or does it feel natural enough? That's a great question. I started as a junior engineer, as a graduate engineer back in 2000, and I couldn't believe how lucky I was to be in an engineering environment where you can have an idea on a Monday and you can be racing it on the Friday. And I think that is something that inspires a lot of the engineers that work in the team. And for me, I was just so excited to be given the opportunity to be able to use what I'd learnt, all of my engineering understanding, and be able to apply it on something so sharp as a Formula One team. And the people I've worked with, the people that have inspired me, and the things that I've learned in my 22, 23 years, which is amazing. It's been that long, but it's been absolutely amazing, and I'll never forget that time that actually Mario Ilian and Paul Morgan gave me my first chance in the sport back in the day at Hillmore Racing. Also the process of switching, well, interesting, I did switch. I spent many years at Mercedes, and then I moved to this team in Alpine. In that switch, it was around about a year for me, where I had to leave the sport for a year at home, whilst I forgot everything I knew at Mercedes and tried to relearn everything I needed to learn for this team, which obviously was an interesting thing. And having been in the sport for that many years, it was actually quite challenging to not be in a team, to not be looking at data, seeing the output from the races, seeing the output from the tests, working with people like myself to try and push forward. So yeah, I had to spend all my efforts focusing on my garden. Again, hi Matt, thanks for doing this AMA. We have seen this season that the pecking order has widely changed as the season has gone on, whether it be due to large upgrade packages from some teams or certain track characteristics that suit a particular car. With all the variation, does a team adjust their development targets according to the competition, or do they focus only on their own weaknesses and improving them? We are always flat out looking at what we do. We don't work at 50% pace or 80% pace. We're always working well over 100%. And I think that means that what we actually do is we're always making sure that we've understood the characteristics of our car and what characteristics are being designed and developed elsewhere with our competition, and making sure that we're always adapting that, making sure that the developments that we bring to the car support our own development targets, but also are moving us in a direction that will keep us performant moving forward. Next question is, hello Matt, would you be able to explain the dramatic variations in performance between the Dutch and Italian Grand Prix? When can we expect a consistent showing from Alpine? Keep up the good work and thanks. Well, thanks for your support. It's always very nice to be given some support. The performance variations between Dutch and Italian GP are mainly down to the characteristics of the circuit. The Zandvoort Grand Prix has a little bit more downforce on than the Monza Grand Prix. There's a little bit of a different sensitivity in terms of certain aspects of the car, and that's why you've seen those differences. And in terms of consistency, I think what we really need to do is improve our base performance. We're quite consistent, generally speaking, over a season. But fundamentally, we need a little bit more load on the car. We need a little bit more in terms of our a mechanical understanding of some of the setup configurations we have, and I think if we do that, then we will better move forward and the consistency will come. Hey Matt, big fan of Alpine F1 since the Renault days. What would you say is the biggest thing Alpine brings to F1 as its only French constructor? We try and work incredibly collaboratively with everybody in every part of Alpine F1, whether it be in the cars division or in the Formula One community with Vivian Enstone, and I think that brings a nice feel to the team, and I hope that comes across in the way we appear at the circuit. Next question, we'd love to see you over at RMAP. Joking aside, what was your mind going through on Gasly's podium? That was a mega drive from him. It must be awesome to engineer a car that gets podiums in F1. It's awesome to engineer a Formula One car, full stop. We operate, it's a lifestyle. We put an awful lot of our time and effort and into these cars, and when you see them deliver to that on the world stage like that, it's just so rewarding. Next question is, are you working on 2026 already? We're already on it, and we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a big program. It's a brand new power unit, brand new set of chassis regulations. So it's actually arguably a little bit bigger a project than the A522 and the 2022 regulations. Next question is, what type of impact testing is typical for an F1 car? The car looked less fragile compared to earlier years. Is that due to new requirements, tolerances, better or different testing? I think the cars are less fragile in terms of their safety for sure. They're very substantial, and that's why some people have had maybe some issues with weight on the car, because the actual safety structures in the car are much more extensive. So the way we engineer race cars now is very, very different to maybe the way we'd have done it 10 years ago. Next question, hi Matt, just how difficult it is to align the workforces of both Enstone and Viry? What kind of challenges does having an engine and chassis development in different countries bring? I think it's more about removing the geography from the discussion. We need to set up, and we have set up, organisations that are very mirrored, with very, very clear responsibilities and specialists that talk directly together. I don't believe in conduits between these two. I think we need to make sure that everybody is linked and they talk the same language, they have the same empowered approach and the same responsibility to make change. And for us at the moment, that's really working. But the most important thing as well is the personal relationships between Enstone and Viry. We're always travelling between sites. We have big groups of people coming over, and then vice versa. We don't just rely on Microsoft Teams to bring our collaborations together. It's a people-based sport, and we've really invested in making sure that people have relationships across the channel, and actually will go far and beyond to help each other out and to make sure that we achieve the best integration of these systems into the race car. So that was the final question, and they were all great questions. I hope I've done a good enough job of trying to answer. I look forward to seeing your responses. Thank you very much.